Jerry Agar for Ezra Levant. Are you a football fan? Do you think that by being so, you are contributing to domestic violence? That seems to be the opinion of Jon Kay of the National Post, who wrote that soon football will be a sport of interest only to uneducated morons. He didn't say it that way, but my fellow talk host on NewsTalk 1010 in Toronto and a frequent contributor to The Arena with Michael Corrin is here. Welcome. And did you kind of get the impression that's what he meant?
Yeah, and I felt like he was talking right to me, actually, and I'm not an uneducated moron. I'm a football fan, and I'm not a savage by any sense. I think he kind of indicated the fact that because we like to see men, hit each other at times, but at the same time, play a sport in a finesse kind of style, that we're somehow lesser than, and I didn't appreciate that.
No, well, let's take a look. We're going to take a look at a couple of quotes from his column in the National Post. And here's the first one. Every time a middle-aged former NFL player takes his own life, with the subsequent autopsy showing a brain scan that looks like something from a nursing home's palliative care wing, football comes one step closer to extinction.
Yeah, and that's absolutely ridiculous. Listen, the NFL, and if he did his research, and this is, I respect Jon Kay, but at the same time, do your homework on this kind of thing. The NFL is one of those leagues that does as much as they possibly can to limit the amount of concussions. They have a brain center in Boston where they collect the brains, as morbid as that sounds, of former NFL players. They freeze them, they dissect them. They want to know exactly what causes these concussions, what perhaps can be done to prevent these concussions. And the commissioner, Roger Goodell, has been on top of this from day one. The day he started this job, he said that this was his #1 priority. So, for Jon Kay to say that about the NFL, who's trying their best to, limit the amount of barbarism in a barbaric sport, I just think it's unfair.
Well, you just called it a barbaric sport.
To a degree it is. I mean, there's hitting, there's contact, probably more than most sports, hockey being the exception, which, if you want to talk about the NHL, Canada's pastime, they're doing a terrible job. Look at guys like Sidney Crosby. That guy shouldn't be on the ice. He's been concussed multiple times. Yeah. He's taken massively vicious headshots, yet people still, line up to see him play and to see him get hit. The NFL does have hits, but they've got penalties against hits against the head, late hits, helmet-to-helmet hits. Right. The field most weekends looks like a laundry hamper full of yellow flags. I mean, they're doing as much as they possibly can.
Well, and here I think is the most irresponsible thing that Jon Kay said. Every big hit increases the likelihood that either hitter or hittee will shoot himself in front of wife and children a few decades hence.
Nonsense. I mean, we've had some incidents. Obviously, the Javon Belcher case just a couple of weeks ago is going to put a big emphasis and spotlight on the NFL.
Yeah, but we don't know why he did that.
But we don't know why he did that. There could have been a million problems with this guy ahead of time. He also had a big painkiller addiction. Are we going to say that painkillers now should be outlawed because you never know who's going to shoot their wife? He had an alcohol problem. Is that part of it? Perhaps. I mean, he had problems. He had problems, and it can't all be attributed to football. Have there been cases, sad cases, of people taking their own lives or the lives of others because of a concussion? Yes, but let the research be done before we start jumping the gun on things.
I'm not sure whether or not Jon Kay has figured out whether statistically there are more of these kinds of incidents from football players than there are, because tragically these things do happen.
Well, right, and they happen in sports. Wrestling, for example.
No, I mean even outside sports.
Outside sports as well. I mean, these things do happen. We had people like the guy in Quebec not long ago who took the lives of his 2 little kids, and now he's basically walking the streets after 4 years in jail. So you can't just say it's about football. Wrestling, for example, Chris Benoit, who's a Canadian wrestler, he killed his kids and himself. That's supposed to be a fake sport. So, listen, let's just let the facts come out and let these guys do their research, because God bless them for going through people's brains. Can't be easy. But they're sitting there doing the science, doing the work, and they're going to make the sport a safer one without having to ban it.
Now, that work is going on in the United States with the National Football League. What's going on with the CFL, or are they just letting the NFL carry out this research?
Well, typically the hits aren't as hard, but I know a lot of CFL players have committed to the same program. They've donated their brains, or will be donating their brains once they pass it on. They say, basically, what are we going to do with them? So they send them down to the lab in Boston. So it's sort of a joint venture between them and the NFL to try to get to the bottom of the problem.
Why aren't the hits as hard?
Well, because you've got guys who aren't as athletic, let's say. You might have 3 or 4 guys in the CFL league.
Oh, you just made the CFL fans happy.
I'm sorry, but it's the truth. I mean, you've got a guy who's got a day job playing football. He's not going to be as athletic, or he would be in the NFL making those kind of hits. So it's not as vicious. You might have a couple of guys, but it's just not the same level of football.
Does it make a difference there's more of an air game maybe because there's only 3 downs as opposed to 4?
That's a great point. You're not getting, and the quarterback releases the ball quicker in the CFL. We've all seen it, right? They play on what looks like a parking lot. I mean, it's a bigger field with a bigger ball and a quicker game. So they're going to release that ball, throw it downfield, and there's not going to be that kind of contact.
Yeah, well, I think what happened here is that Jonathan Kay in the National Post sort of revealed a bit of snobbery and elitism.
Well, that's exactly what it is. And I mean, it's typical liberal elitism where they sit back and they drink their lattes and they say, oh, we're not like those people because those people like to watch football and that's a disgusting sport. I mean, get off your high horse, pal. Again, with all due respect, Jerry.
Yeah, now, in the CFL, would you get actually more attendance if they sold lattes in the stadium?
I doubt it. I doubt that crowd would ever go to a football game or a NASCAR race or anything to that effect. But guess what? They're the ones missing out because when those hits aren't going on, there's a beautiful game being played between those hash marks, and they should probably put their latte down and watch it every Sunday.
I agree with you. Watched a play just last weekend, and I'm sorry if I don't have all the details of who it was, but here's a guy, great big tough guy Jonathan Kay might not like, and he's right on the line of going over, and manages to stop his toes short of the line, reach out, catch the ball with one hand, and control for a reception. And you look at that kind of thing, look what the quarterback did, what he did, and you just go, I can't believe they can do that. It's like that's the thrill of football.
It's like ballet for men. Not that men don't like actual ballet, but it is. I mean, the athleticism, the gorgeous kind of lines, not to get too poetic about it, but that's what we love about the sport. And sure, there are hits, sure, there are tackles. No one's going to deny that. But with these scientists, the way they do this work, they're going to make the equipment better. They're going to make the game safer. And hopefully we don't have, any concussions in the years to come.
Thanks for coming in, Ryan.
Thank you.